morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Daycare Q&A Show. I'm your host, Adrienne Bradley of Thriving Childcare, and thank you for joining me here today. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome. And if you are back for a new episode, welcome back. And if you are joining me here live today, please just send me some hearts and likes so I can say hi. And if you're catching this on replay, put hi in the chat so I can reach out to you and say hi too. And please consider hitting that like bell and subscribing too. That would be great so you don't miss any of our future episodes. So I have to tell you, I woke up this morning with a pounding headache, and my husband gave me something and I thought it was helping, but my headache's back. So I'm probably going to stay on the shorter side today, or at least I'm going to try to. I know we have a number of questions, and I have a lot to share with you since I saw you last. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to try and steal a tip from my friend Denitra, and I'm watching this. I'm going to turn the volume down, but I'm watching my phone to see if I can see any responses better, because for some reason this I've said it before, but this Facebook dashboard is not user friendly, at least not for Adrienne. It's just not. So anyway, all right, so I usually start off the episode with a few housekeeping notes, and the first thing I want to say this week is a big thank you to Denitra Scott for guest hosting the show last week. She was absolutely amazing. I caught the show. I caught it later. I was actually out of town, but I did catch it later, and the information she gave was absolutely invaluable. Her insight was so on point. If you missed that episode, she was talking about how to successfully start a child care center. So if that's something that you're interested in, and even if it's something that you're thinking about for your future, I would highly suggest that you go back and listen to that episode from last week. I didn't get a chance to put it up on our YouTube channel yet, but I will be doing that later this afternoon. So go back and catch that episode. She covered everything from setting up your staffing. Oops, sorry, let me turn this printer off. Otherwise, it is going to be bothering us. Okay. She talked about everything from staffing to avoiding citations to grants. So if you didn't catch that, I'll say it again. If you didn't catch that episode last week, please go back and listen to that episode, because it was amazing. And I hope she will be gracious and grant us her presence again. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Okay, so as usual, there's jingling behind me. My dogs are behind me walking around, but they're being pretty quiet today, so maybe they'll stay that way. But just want you to know they're there if they bark or something like that. So, second, again, I say this every week, but I'm going to say it again. The questions that are submitted here are from other fellow providers, but the advice and the opinions that I share are my own. They're either based on my own experience or an experience of a fellow provider that's close to me that I know of. So of course not everything fits for everyone, and if something doesn't vibe for you, feel free to disregard it. Just take what works for you. And we're just here to maybe provide a different perspective, because it can get really hard when you're dealing with challenges in your business, and that's for any business owner. But when you're dealing with challenges, sometimes it's hard to take a step back and see it from a different angle and come up with a solution, because you're singularly minded. You're thinking about a lot of things because it's your business. And a lot of times getting someone else's advice can be very, very helpful, even if it just makes you think of it in a different way. So that's what this show is committed to doing, to helping fellow providers like you and I maybe get some different advice to get a different perspective, like I said, on or find a solution, because I say this all the time, but I love a rant, but a solution trumps a rant for me. So that's what we're here to do. Let's see what else. I want to remind you, if you are joining me here live, or even if you're catching this on replay, and if you have a question or you have a comment related to a question that comes up here on the show, please go ahead and feel free to put it in the comments. I am trying to, I'm trying to monitor the comments on my phone, and just to make sure I don't miss anything, but I welcome your insight as well. I'm not the only provider in the room here. So if you have a different perspective or some additional advice, please put it in the comments. Or if you have a different question, go ahead and put it in the comments. And when I see it, I will come back in and address that as well. Okay. And lastly, just like every week, we have a weekly giveaway. And I'll give you some more information on that later. It is highly on topic with the questions that we'll be talking about here today. So stick around for that. And if you do catch this on replay, you can still get in on the giveaway. But I'll give you more information about that. The replay of this show will be up. I try and get it up the following day. Please have grace with me. I really do. Sometimes the Wi-Fi has just been a huge hurdle for me getting that up, because I do have to do a little bit of editing. But I hope to have that up tomorrow. But when you do see it, I do say in the comments that you can still get in on the giveaway. So I'll talk more about that in a little while. Okay. So let's see what's going on in the Thriving Childcare universe. Okay, first of all, this episode is sponsored by the Provider Planner and Organizer, our luxury planner just for childcare providers. And by the way, this is a perfect time to order your planner. A lot of times we think that getting a planner is just for the beginning of the year, but believe it or not, we're getting closer and closer to the end of this year and the beginning of next year. But as you can imagine, if you wait that long, then you probably won't have your planner in time for the new year, and you definitely won't have it early. And I'm a big supporter of getting ahead of something if you can. And with a planner, you definitely can. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so the Provider Planner and Organizer is a planner that is just made for childcare providers, and it's undated. So that's another advantage. You can get it and start using it now and still get a full 12 months out of use of the planner. So there's the planner right there. That's our Stripe version, and that we do still have a few more copies. We had an overrun of those, so those are on sale. They're actually $20 off. So if you go, there is a link in this episode. You can go over and check out the planner. But the Stripe planner is on sale, is $20 off, like I said. The Blue planner is available as well, but our Floral planner is sold out and on back order. So I highly suggest you going over and checking that out so that you can get your planner and use it during the holiday season, and get ahead of what you want to plan for the new year. 2024 is right around the corner. I know it's hard to believe, but it is. All right, so I'm looking down at my notes because I want to be respectful of your time. Okay. Lastly, no, not even lastly. Sorry about that. I have something very special to share with you that's coming up later this month. On September 21st, I'm excited and honored to say that I will be teaching a special webinar for IntelliKid Systems called Exhaustion to Excellence. And I'll be talking about how to overcome exhaustion through self-care and how to learn key elements that contribute to excellence in your business. So that's something that we all look forward to, or I should say strive to do, is to have quality care. And I'll be going on quality care for our business, but we also need to talk about the role of self-care for ourselves. I hear so many times, and even today we're going to talk about provider burnout, but I hear that so many times from providers. I've gone through it. Most of the people I know have gone through it, and it's a real thing. It is. But we have to start talking about how to recover from it and how to take long-term steps to avoid it. Okay? And anyway, that's what I'll be talking about at this webinar, and I'm really, really excited. And I'm so excited to tell you that IntelliKid has been super generous and has opened up the door to other providers, so anyone and everyone can attend this webinar. And I will leave a link in this show today, in the show notes, where you can go over and register for that webinar. It is completely free, and you can get your ticket just by going over and registering. So I hope you will do that. I will be so excited to see you there. And yeah, so I couldn't wait to tell you that this morning. All right. So this morning we're going to dive into some questions from other daycare owners. But before we do, I have been looking at the provider planner, and of course, did I move it? Yeah, I moved it. Every week, and seeing if there's some fun event that we can use to maybe create a special event around, or special projects with the kids, or even a food snack or lunch around. I cannot talk today. It's probably the headache. It's probably my headache. But we are going to soldier on. So we're now into September. This is sort of like the first week of September. Oh! So today is September 6th. Today is Read a Book Day. Now, I know you probably read to the kids every single day, but maybe today you find a new book. Maybe there's a new book that you've added to your collection, and maybe pull that out and read that to the kids. Or I think I talked about this before. I had one time where we had the kids who were willing to get up and read to their friends. So if they knew the story, and even if they didn't know the story, even if they made up some parts of the story, that was even fun. But they got up in front of their friends, sat down like they were teaching the class, and they read to the other kids, and it was so much fun. I was so proud of them just for doing that. I'm sure that gave them a lot of confidence, and we were there to support them. So that's something else that you might want to do. Maybe pull out even a favorite story and use some puppets with it. Switch up the story a little bit. Maybe write a story. Something like that. So today is Read a Book Day, and there are some fun things that you might want to try this week. All right. So let's get into these questions, because I know I have already gone long with all of the intro and everything. So the questions today. First of all, Before I get into the first question, I just want to say again, that's what we do here. We try and work together to find solutions to provider issues. And, like I said earlier, just try and give you a different perspective. Okay? So, first question. I have a license for 12 kids, but currently I only have 3. Despite advertising on social media and in mom groups, I haven't had any new customers. As a result, I'm starting to feel hopeless. I'm not sure what else to do. So, as I said, that comes up quite a bit. And most providers will see this. We all know about this roller coaster ride. One day you might be completely booked or full, and the next day you might get 3 families that say that they're withdrawing. And it could be that they're moving, it could be that someone was laid off work, it could be a myriad of reasons. But typically you will see this roller coaster of enrollment. And I've said this before, but I think it bears repeating anytime this comes up. First of all, don't wait until, my advice is to not wait until there's a spot open to start advertising. Now, I know sometimes people might think that, well, if I don't have a spot, why am I advertising? That's just going to be frustrating because I'm going to have to turn these people away. Well, not necessarily, because not always are the people that are looking for childcare in need of it immediately. Sometimes, and I've talked about this before, they might need it, or they might be looking and seeking childcare for later in the year or next year. We're getting close to the end of the year. They might be looking for childcare for next year. They might be looking for childcare. They might have just gotten pregnant. It might be several months down the road. And it depends on how you want to handle that in your business. But I'm saying that the circumstance it doesn't always have to be immediate. Secondly, you can have, of course, a waiting list. And should a spot come up next week, you can, if you have a waiting list, you can reach out to those families and say, are you still in need? We do have an opening now, and would you be interested in the opening? So it gives you the option of having people to reach out to, having leads, as they will say in other businesses. So don't wait until you have a spot that's open and you need it to fill it immediately. The other thing about waiting until there's a spot, sometimes that can create panic in providers like you and I. We feel like we have to fill this spot. We're going to be losing money if we don't, and that might make us just take anyone. And I can tell you that you don't necessarily want just anyone. You want you want clients that fit your program. Because if you get desperate or, like I said, panicky, you might be inclined to take somebody who needs care outside of the hours that you want to work, just because you feel like you need to fill that spot. So by marketing all the time and having a waiting list and doing some of these other things I'm about to mention, you don't necessarily have to get to that panicky state, okay? The other thing too is to make sure that you are getting an enrollment deposit, and a lot of times that enrollment deposit is just 2 weeks, or even if it's a month. Sometimes that doesn't cover enough time for you to get a new client, but it does give you a little bit of a buffer. So make sure that that is part of your process, your enrollment process, to get that. That way you do typically get that notification from the parents that they're leaving. I found that before I instituted an enrollment deposit, sometimes people would just bounce. And they wouldn't even say anything, which is so rude, but it also left me just high and dry. You know what I mean? But when I started to require that 2-week enrollment deposit for the last 2 weeks of care, rarely did I get people that just dipped out on me. They didn't want to leave that money on the table. So I would say almost 100% got notification when they were leaving once I did that. So that's another good practice. Okay, now getting back to what you're saying. I said before, a few moments ago, to market all the time. And there are many ways to do it. You've said, I believe you said you've been in mommy groups, you've talked to, wait a minute, you said you're advertising on social media, you're talking to mommy groups. Okay. There's a lot of different ways to market. And like I said before, marketing all the time, try new ways every month. But here's some things that you didn't mention. I don't know if you've tried, so I'm just going to mention them here. On your website, post that you have positions open. If you don't have a website, consider getting a website up, because that can be your a marketing tool there. You can put when spots are available. You can have your waiting list right there on the website. You can maybe even get, depending on how your website's set up, you can schedule tours from right there. So get a website. If you don't have a Facebook page for your business, consider setting up a Facebook page. You can do that today. That's free. You said you had social media, so I'm going to assume that you do have a Facebook page. Post on there that you have openings. Post it every day. And the reason is because the algorithm doesn't reach everybody who even follows your page. So by posting every day, you have more chance of more people seeing it. Ask people to share it. Maybe there's people that have other people in their lives, either family members or coworkers, that are looking for childcare. Okay? Consider attending your Chamber of Commerce meetings. Okay? Because there's going to be businesses there, there's going to be people there from the community, and you can let them know that you have a childcare business right in the community. One of my favorite ways that I always bring up is to reach out to employers, like hospitals that might be in your community, or larger organizations like that. Talk to their HR department, let them know that you have a childcare in the community. When I was raising my kids many moons ago, I wanted my kids closest to my job as opposed to closer to my house. So a lot of parents feel that way, and I've had clients over the years that did that. They worked in the area. They didn't necessarily live in the area where my business was, but they wanted their children to be close. So reach out to those organizations. Reach out to the local schools. A lot of times they will have after-school programs, but a lot of times those get full. And with inflation and everything, I don't know what the pricing is on that. It might be pricing people out of that. They might get full. They might have low staffing and not be able to take everyone. That might be an opportunity for you to get more business. So there are several ways. Another thing you can do is to put up a Google ad. It's not called a Google ad. I can't remember what it's called. I will leave a link. I have a training specifically for how to do that. It's very quick, very easy, but I did do a training on it, and it's free training where you can go and put your ad up right on Google. And you can imagine that when somebody in your community starts searching for childcare, your name or your business will probably come up right at the top. I know that I had that happen to me several times, and I think it's because I did put that Google ad up, so if somebody was in the vicinity and they did a search for childcare, I was at the top. So find several ways to market. I'll also leave a link to an article I did on marketing that has several different ways that you can market your business. But the point of this whole thing, this whole answer here, is to market all the time, today, tomorrow, all month long, even when you're full. Okay? So I hope that helps. But I'll leave those resources in the show notes as well. Okay, I'm going to move on. I took a long time with that one. Okay. The next question is, how do you handle drop-ins? Do you leave one spot open for drop-ins? How about paperwork, and are the fees different? I'm completely new to this, and the subsidy program is so confusing. All right, so just like most things, I mean, this kind of just depends on how you want to handle that in your business. If you are open to drop-ins, which I suggest is a good thing to do if you can, you might be full and you won't be able to take drop-ins. But what I did was open my business up to drop-ins as they were available. In other words, if the spot was available and they were already registered in my program for a drop-in, then they could use the spot. But if on a day that they needed, I was full, then unfortunately they were not going to be able to come. So you're going to have to set up this the way it works best for your business. But I wouldn't necessarily hold a spot for drop-ins unless you have a regular drop-in and that's something you want to do. If you have a drop-in that comes every week, maybe you want to save that spot for them. That's an option. But then again, too, a lot of times, especially if you explain it to potential clients that the spot may or may not be availability, it is first come, first serve. And if you have full-time or part-time enrolled children, then the spot might not be available when they need it. A lot of times that will encourage them to enroll part-time as opposed to drop-in. But if they truly just need a drop-in situation, then consider, not necessarily holding the spot open, but letting them know that, of course, they can enroll in your program, but the spot may not be available to them when they need it. That's just goes along with being a drop-in. As far as paperwork goes, I would, when they wanted to enroll, I would have them fill out the paperwork so that I already had a file here for them. So whenever they came or they scheduled a date to come, then we didn't have to go through all of that. The paperwork was already in their file. So I would say if you enroll somebody as a drop-in, I would get all of that paperwork. It's usually, well, it is. It's the same paperwork as if you were enrolling them full or part-time. So just have them fill that out, set up the file so that whenever they do come, their file is already there and ready for them. You don't have to worry about that. Let's see. The fees. That, again, is up to you. Typically, if it's a drop-in, in my program, they were going to pay more because it was probably a daily rate. And a daily rate is typically, for anything, is typically higher than a weekly rate or a monthly rate. So, but that is up to you. If you want to charge more for your drop-ins, then that is your call. But typically in my program, you did pay more for that drop-in day. Last thing, you said something about a subsidized program. If their child care is being paid by a subsidized program, you're going to have to reach out to that program to get them to explain to you how drop-ins are handled, how the paperwork for submitting for the subsidized payment is handled. It is program specific, so you're going to have to reach out to them. Okay, so I hope that helped. Next question. Do you have any recommendations for resources such as books or training that can help me address my staff's burnout and stress? It's challenging because unlike schools, our organization operates year-round. I've noticed that some employees are feeling frustrated, which has an impact on the children. Any guidance or support would be greatly appreciated. Okay, well, actually I do, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I do have a resource for you. But what I want to say before I get to that is, personally, I think that a lot of the stress and the frustration with our staff members might come from incomplete onboarding. And what I mean is, and I've said this before, it was a long time ago, but I listened to a live that Denitra Scott did where she talked about, and this is for, well, in her scenario, it was for home child care providers, but this applies to center-based as well. A lot of times, by the time we realize we need help, or we need a new assistant, or we need an assistant, it is way beyond the time we needed that assistant, we needed that help. And so what happens is we're exhausted. We're absolutely at our wits' end, and we just want relief. So we'll find an assistant. Hopefully we're not so stressed out that we don't just take anybody and we get a good assistant. But then we'll probably be inclined to just throw them in the room with the kids and, for lack of a better word, ask them, without saying it, ask them to basically figure it out. Figure out what our schedule is, figure out what the kids' needs are, figure out all of that. And that, of course, is a recipe for failure for the new assistant or teacher, but also for you, because they are going to get burnt out. They are going to get stressed out because they don't know what to do. And I'm speaking from experience because I did this. I did this several times. And I learned from it. I will tell you that. And what I learned is that you really have to, even if you are at your wit's end and you need help immediately, today, right now, you have to take the time, number one, to find a good assistant or a teacher, and number two, to train them properly, to onboard them properly. Take the time to do it. Now, there are some shortcuts that I can tell you that I learned, and I actually will leave a resource. This is one of the resources I'm talking about, because I created a whole course around how to do this. And, excuse me, the course is called Daycare Onboarding Made Simple. And the reason why it's made simple is because you're going to create videos that you can take the time, maybe over a week, maybe over a month, to create, so that when your next hire comes in, you can send them these videos. You can send them links to them in their emails. You can send your handout, your book, your handbook to them in the emails. The course goes through all of this to make it easier for you, so it's not so impactful on your week that you need to train a new employee. But it also gives you a resource that you can refer back to. You can say, hey, listen, maybe check out that video again on the way we do our fire drills, or check out the video again on how we handle diapering. So it gives you kind of like a virtual handbook, if you will. But anyway, I'll leave that resource below. But we have got to take the time to train and onboard our staff, because the frustration that a lot of them feel is being like a fish out of water. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle. They might not even know who to go to when there are some issues. So again, it just sets people up for failure. And once they get in that frustration and failure mode, you can imagine their mind goes to finding another job. And so it turns into this vicious cycle. And I said a moment ago that I did this. I actually had a really awesome assistant. We got along. She was great. She was eager. She loved being around the kids. But and I did do some onboarding, but like I said before, I was overwhelmed. I had too much to do, so I didn't complete the onboarding. And the part that I didn't complete was a major part. We did, and I know a lot of other providers have an app that they do daily notes for the kids on. And if you can believe, it wasn't that I couldn't train her on how to use the notes. I couldn't find the password for my Wi-Fi. And I did not make the time to find that Wi-Fi password for at least a month. So by this time, I was doing the notes every day and she wasn't. So when I found the password and gave it to her, it felt like, oh, now I have something else I need to do. As opposed to if I'd had that on day one, she would have just incorporated that into her daily schedule, her daily routine. But now it felt like something extra. So she was resistant, right? So now it became a problem. But it was all because I didn't complete the onboarding. I didn't train her from the beginning for what I needed her to do. Okay? And this had happened in different scenarios earlier in my journey. But that's why I can say with confidence, go and look and make sure your staff has the tools that they need, the resources that they need to be successful in their position. Okay? So that is something I want to drive home first. Secondly, maybe think about doing some events for them. Maybe buy lunch one day a week or one day a month if you can't afford to do that one day a week. Maybe one day a month. Maybe have, I don't know, some little special event. Maybe do like the schools do and schedule once a quarter having a teacher planning day where you tell the parents that they're on a half-day schedule that day so that your teachers or your assistant has time to plan out the next few months, or so they're not working and planning and getting overwhelmed and stressed. Think about different things that you can do that will support them in their role, is what I'm trying to say. It could be any of those, it could be none of those, but sit down and think about. And finally, ask them. Sit down and ask them, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help you be successful in your role? There's nothing wrong with doing that. That shows great leadership. It shows that you are someone that they can look to for help, that you care about them. There could be something going on in their life that they are dealing with and trying to be a good employee as well. So ask them. Maybe get them all together and ask them in a group setting, or maybe one-on-one have a chat with them. But ask them, what can I do? What can I do? What can we do to support you? Okay? So those are my tips today. We might get some more later on because this comes up. You know, they get stressed out just like providers get stressed out. So, okay. I'm going to move on. Oh, it's giveaway time. It is giveaway time. I love this time every week. I love it. Okay, so this week, if you're attending live or if you are catching this on replay, you can receive a copy of the Provider's Deck, which is a deck of daily affirmations for childcare owners. Now, I told you that this was going to be right on topic today because we're talking about issues like that. So I want to encourage you to get this deck. It is free for you this week. So follow the link. I'll put a link in the comments where you can go over to the shop and get this. You'll need to use this promo code. It is free for me. That's capital letters FREE, the numeral 4 ME, capital letters. So FREE, numeral 4 ME, free for me. So whether you're catching this on live or on replay, you can get in on this giveaway until next week. The giveaway expires next Tuesday. That is September 12th at 11:59 p.m. So go over and get this. It's free for you, and I think it'll be a good resource, especially considering the questions that we've gotten here today. Okay? All right. Let's get on to our last two questions. Let's see. Last week I started caring for a 2-year-old child who exhibits some bothering behaviors, such as constant crying, no appetite, refusing to drink anything, and flapping her arms. Moreover, she seems to ignore the other kids. I expressed my concerns to the mom, who responded with excuses like she has to stand up to eat and she won't drink unless she sees you put water in her cup. I suggested to the mom that the child may be on the autism spectrum. The mom replied that they also suspect this and that the child would be getting tested the following week. I'm upset. It says, I'm a bit upset because this was not shared with me earlier and I feel a bit misled. Okay. Well, that is a hard position to be in, because it's not just, it sounds like it's not just the typical behavioral issues of a new child in your program. But some of the behavior can be a reaction to being in a new environment. So I'll just say this. I think it is a good thing that the parents have already recognized that the behavior needs to get evaluated, because a lot of times that's the biggest hurdle. Parents are resistant to hear anything like that about their child, and you can understand that. That's a hard pill to take. It really is. So in this situation, at least they realize that there's something going on that they need to get evaluated. So I will say that it is a good thing that you're, number one, communicating what you're experiencing with the child in childcare, but also that they are being proactive and getting the child evaluated very soon. Okay, so as far as being misled, I don't know if I go that far. Maybe they obviously haven't had the diagnosis yet. If it is autism, they haven't had that said to them yet. So they may have had some concerns that they didn't share with you, and I can understand how you might feel a bit misled about that. But they don't really know. In fairness to the parents, they don't really know what the real deal is now. They might suspect, but they really don't know. So I don't know if I would feel misled. I will say this, though. I had a circumstance several years ago where a colleague of mine, she had a child that had similar behavioral issues, and the child did have autism, and she didn't want to dismiss the family. She didn't. She wanted to be a help. But it was having a toll on her care for the other children, because it was just her and her assistant. And I remember her explaining to me that it was a whole ordeal. It took both of them to control the child, bodily control the child, to get him to even just change a diaper, or it was just a lot. Okay, and it started to affect the other kids because they couldn't be engaged with the other children, or it took them much longer to change diapers or do projects or do other things with the other children, because they had to devote so much time to the care of this one child. And that's not to say, well, anyway, so she was asking me if I would be willing to take on this child. And I told her, after hearing all of that, I told her no. Because at the time, whatever my circumstances were, I did not feel like I was able to care for the child the way it needed to be cared. It was out of scope for what I could do. And that, I don't think, is talked about enough. A lot of times we feel like, well, we're this caregiver, and this is what we should do, this is what we do, and that there's no way we can turn away this family, and we of course don't want to be discriminatory. But what we need to think about is whether we have the ability to give this child what it needs, what the child needs, and to communicate that with the parents. So, getting back to this circumstance, I would probably be proactive and tell the parents, please, well, not please, I would appreciate or expect that you will share the results that you get from the child being tested, because and share exactly what I just said, because I want to make sure that we have the resources, that we have the ability to care for the child the way she needs to be cared for. And that's reasonable, because if you don't, you're doing the family a disservice as well as yourself, a disservice, your staff, a disservice, and the other children, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you can care for this child the way they need to be cared for. I have had several autistic children in my program over the years that I did care for. And I had some that were on either side of the spectrum. In other words, some were severely autistic and some were mildly autistic. And it was a different circumstance with each one. And one I had that was severely autistic, and he was in my program for a really long time. We were able to care for him at that time. Okay? But that doesn't mean if I'm full and I have 12 other children to care for, that I have the ability to care for this child. And if you don't, it could lead to some serious problems. So it sounds to me that once they do get him diagnosed or her diagnosed, there needs to be a conversation afterwards with the parents. And there needs to be ongoing communication with these parents, which sounds like you're already doing that, so that's really good. But make sure that you, especially after the diagnosis, have a sit down with them and talk about what moving forward. If this is something you can do, if it's something that you should do. Okay, that would be my advice when it came to that. And if anybody else has any other advice, if you've been through that scenario, please chime in and let me know. I'm going to scroll down and see if I missed any comments. I don't think so. Okay, I don't see any comments right now, so I'm going to move on. This is to our last question. And thanks for hanging with me today. I have a bad headache, like I said earlier, and I think I'm fumbling my words and I'm talking even slower than I did the last time. So, thank you. All right, the last question here is, I am very exhausted working 10 hours a day. Parents drop off in PJs 75% of the time. Then after work, I have my own kids' activities for another 2.5 hours. When I get home, it's time to throw some food together and put laundry away. To save time, I wash and dry my clothes during nap time. I guess she means the family's clothes during nap time. I feel as if I'm always cleaning because my own family makes messes too. I'm at my breaking point in all of this. I like my career path, but I'm worn out being a single mom. But there's not enough money coming in to pay the bills. I'm trying to get more kids in, but I'm not getting any attention. I just want to quit. I want to cry my eyes out. My rent is going to be late because all my other bills need attention. I'm losing at this. I just want to find another job, but there's no other work that would work with my kids' school and sports schedules. And working with my daycare is where my heart is. I'm on eggshells, worried if my house is clean enough, worried about dirty feet or socks, even though I clean my floors and vacuum all the time. I'm always wiping them down because I don't like messy little ones. Dealing with parents who think I'm not doing enough. All this has led me to feel like I'm not good enough. I don't know. I'm mentally exhausted. Yes, you are. You are mentally exhausted. There's a lot going on here. A lot going on. So I'm going to take them one by one I won't read it all over again, but the 10 hours a day, I get that. Most other providers get that because that's the typical day. But as I said before, I once figured this out, and I'm going to go back and check this because I want to. It's been a long time since I did that, but I'm going to go back and make sure these numbers. But working 10 to 11 hours a day, I once figured out at the end of the year came to 2.5 extra weeks that we work more than the average worker. And that's a lot. It's a long day, it's a long week, it's a long year. Okay? So, first of all, if you're not taking time off, rethink that. That would be my first advice. Rethink that. Hopefully, you just had this holiday off. I didn't say that. I hope everybody had a very good long Labor Day weekend. And if you didn't, next year, I hope you do. Okay? Because those are kind of built in. Okay? Really, really consider, and I know the parents, but most of the parents get these federal holidays off. And if they don't, when the kids go to school, they will have to figure it out. So might as well help them start figuring it out now. Okay, so first of all, take some time off, all right? Secondly, the parents dropping off in PJs all the time. Now, I don't know what your schedule is. You didn't put it here. I don't know if you have an after hour or overnight program or something like that. But maybe that's something that you want to address. Somewhere down the line, the parents were led to believe that that was okay, or you accepted it and by default let them believe that that was okay. If that's not okay, then we need to address that. We need to say, hey parents, we got a lot going on here at the child care every day. So I'm going to need the kids to come fully dressed and ready to go. Okay? So maybe that's something you talk about in your tours. Okay? And yes, I know it's a lot for the parents to get the kids ready to come to daycare and put on clothes, but they have to get ready to go to work. And like I said, when the kids go to school later on, they're going to have to get them ready, clothes and all. They can't show up to school in PJs. So maybe addressing that, because it sounds like that's an issue for you. And it's okay. It's okay to go back and tweak this to say, you know what, that was acceptable. I would put out a policy notification. I would put it in my newsletter. I would send them a text and say, hey, new policy, kids have to get dressed before they come to daycare. Okay? So there's that. You say that you have after-hour activities with your own children. Yeah. And so you have a really, really long day. And that's why I said what I just said about maybe taking the pressure off with some of these other things and having the parents kind of, make those accommodations. So I get it. You have your own kids to pick them up. They have activities and they have to come home and fix dinner and stuff. So consider that. Have grace with yourself and understand that that is your life. Okay? It is. And you want to be present for that. I know, because I had 3 children and I had to deal with all of that as well. Most of us do. But I can tell you this, that time goes so fast. And if you're miserable, you're going to look back and realize how much you missed. How much you missed because you were miserable. You were tired all the time. You weren't able to show up. No. Make some changes now and enjoy that time, because it's going to go so fast. And you'll look up one day, like me, and your kids are grown. You don't see them every day. You maybe don't talk to them every day. And you're going to miss that. And I'm not getting choked up. I probably need to drink some water, but you're going to miss that. And so make some changes, because these are the things that are really important to your life over your whole life. Okay. To save time, you wash and dry during nap time. That's great. I don't know what your setup is. Maybe move that to, I run my dishwasher overnight. I fill it up and I have it set to start at midnight or something like that. So I wake up and they're clean. So maybe see if you can adjust that. Um, just because you're doing so much during the week and during the day. Maybe consider washing over the weekend. I know if you live in a place where you have to share the washer and dryer, then it's probably a busy time. But see if there's a way to accommodate that. But maybe you do have to do it during nap time. You said you feel as if you're always cleaning because you have your own family. Yeah, like I said before, we live in our business. So sometimes it can be really hard to keep up with all of that because our business is here, our life is here, our family's here. It can be a lot. Um, it's probably not affordable for everyone, but when you can, see if you can get some help. Get a housekeeper once a quarter, once a month if you can afford it, to come in and do a deep cleaning for you. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, I can't afford that. Well, there's a lot of programs out there where they're not that expensive. But if you can, do that for yourself. Okay, take some of the heat off, some of the some of the work off, if you can afford it. Okay, because it is a lot. Is a lot going on here. Okay, I'm going to keep going because I don't want to go past an hour. You say you're worn out. Let's see. Cleaning. Okay. You love it. You love the work, but you're a single mom. Yeah, you're handling a lot. There's not enough money coming in to pay your bills. Okay. Time to sit down with a pencil and paper and a calculator and figure out what's going on. Where's the shortfall? How much of a shortfall? And then address your rates. I know no one wants to talk about this. It is the hardest thing sometimes for us to do. And then for some of us, not so hard. But if this isn't bringing in the income that you need to bring it in, you need to address it. You can't just keep going on like this. It's already affecting you. It's also adding to the burnout and the frustration that you have. So I'm gonna scroll down and see if I missed any comments because it looks like I did, but I don't see them. You guys, I am sorry. Let me click over. I don't see. Oh, Denitra Scott. Okay, so she just put this here, so I didn't miss it a minute ago. It says, the time sure does go fast. I have so many regrets of spending so much time being tired, stressed, and depressed. Yeah. I mean, that was something I was always aware of. I was always aware that this time with my own children was going to be so short. And I even expressed that to my family at different times. So I was aware. So I really, really tried to be present as much as I could. But if you're frustrated and tired and worn out and mad and all the above, even if you're present, you're not really present. So make some adjustments if you can. All right. Let me keep going because like I said, I don't want to go past an hour. You say you just want to quit. So anyway, address those rates. And I know we just came out of August, which was a really good time to make an adjustment. But September, we just started September. Figure out what that figure is. Figure out how much you need to make sure your bills are paid. And then something else, and make that adjustment in your rates. Something else I want to bring up, and it's something that I will be talking about more, and I know that Denitra Scott talks about more, but that is maybe you need right now, maybe you need a side hustle. Maybe you need another stream of income that's going to fill in that shortfall. Okay? There's lots of ways to do it. This is this time in history, there's tons of ways to make money. So if you want me to talk more about that, or if you want me to do a specific show about that, please let me know. But that's another way that you can kind of fill in that shortfall. Okay. You feel you're losing at this. You would get another job, but that doesn't necessarily work either for your family. and your heart is in your business. Okay, so I'm going to stop here because I don't want to keep going on. All right, like I said before, the cleaning. You might just be putting so much pressure on yourself that you're compulsively cleaning. All right, and I'm not saying you don't need to clean. We're taking care of children. Of course, things need to be clean, but set a routine that still allows you to take care of the rest of your life, so that you're not constantly scrubbing floors and worrying about dirty feet. Okay. You can have the kids wear socks if you don't allow shoes in the house, and if that's acceptable as far as licensing goes. Maybe have some socks or some special shoes that they only wear at the daycare, so that they're not getting it so dirty that it's worrying you. Okay, but kids do go outside, they do play. There's going to be some dirt and some mess. Take the pressure off. Do a really good cleaning once a week, and try not to worry so much. All right. As far as the parents thinking you're not doing enough, I'm going to tell you right now to your face, you are doing enough. Okay? You are doing enough. Don't worry about those parents giving you the praise that you deserve. It happens sometimes, and it's so welcome when it happens. But a lot of times it doesn't. And as long as you know that you're doing the best that you can, you're providing quality care, you're taking care of the kids, you're taking care of yourself, then you are enough. You are doing enough. And I'm going to say that to everyone who's listening or who does listen to this. Know that I know that you are most likely doing more than enough. You are doing enough. Okay? So I want that to be one of the last things I say, just so you know. You are doing enough. Don't worry. If you don't get the praise, you don't get the praise. Okay? That happens as parents, right? We don't get the praise from our kids until they're grown. But I know you're doing enough. I know you're doing enough. Speaking of which, that was just my daughter. All right. So that is it for the questions this week. Remember, you can always submit a question early. And even if it doesn't make it on the show, I will address it. So you can go to thrivingchildcare.com/what's your question to leave your question for next week's show, or leave it in the comments if you're watching this on replay, or if you are watching this on our YouTube channel. Again, leave whatever question or comment that you have about this episode in the comments. And I just want to say that a lot of the issues that we're talking about today have a lot to do with stress, exhaustion, and overwhelm. So I want to, again, encourage you to register for that free webinar that I'm doing on the 21st, where I will be talking about how to self-care for ourselves. We know that we're exhausted and we're burned out, but do we know what self-care is? And I asked that in the group last week. Next week I'll come back and on the next show I will come back and tell you what the results were for what they thought, or what the answers were for what self-care is. But go ahead and sign up for that webinar. So it's a free webinar, and let's start taking care of ourselves, because as you can see, it takes a toll. The toll comes due at some point. And I know personally, I have pushed through, I have pushed down, I have tried to manage more than I should have. And I have not taken care of myself in the process, and it has shown up. Okay? So I don't want that for you. I want you to get the tools that you need to manage, to not get into burnout, but also to recover from it, and to take care of yourself so you don't go back there. So you can avoid that and sidestep that completely. Okay, so sorry about the long show today, guys, but thank you for hanging with me. I appreciate you. I am out of town next week. We may be able to have a special guest host. I'll let you know, but if not, I will see you in 2 weeks. Well, regardless, I will see you in 2 weeks. Again, my name is Adrienne Bradley, your host for the Daycare Q&A Show, and I cannot wait to continue this journey with you next week. All right? Until then, keep thriving.